Burning this $100 bill might look ridiculous, but it demonstrates what the average new car buyer does 75 times over just from driving their new car off the lot. In this video, I'm going to show you the simple truth on why buying or leasing a new car is one of the worst financial mistakes most people can make. I'll also be going over the few exceptions where a new car might actually make sense for you and share with you my personal strategy for enjoying cars while staying debt-free. Oh crap, that was the money I needed for my Godzilla Criterion Blu-ray box set. Welcome to the channel for anyone who wants to enjoy cars without breaking the bank. I'm super excited for today's video because it's the reason I started this channel in the first place. I love cars, but I also try to be financially savvy. It seems like those things shouldn't go together because most people only see cars as a huge financial burden. But over the decades, I've learned how to enjoy cars, even some pretty nice ones, without spending too much money on them. And this channel is a way to share what I've learned with all of you. So, pop quiz hotshot, what's the #1 cost of a typical new car? The answer is a bit surprising. It's depreciation. Depreciation is the silent killer of your money, and you don't notice it because you're not physically forking out a bill for it. But down the road, when you eventually sell your car, your vehicle is magically worth a lot less than it used to be. Let me show you what I mean. The average price of a new car right now is $38,000, and the average new car depreciates 20% the moment that you buy it. Doing a little math, 20% of $38,000 is about $7,500. So congratulations, average new car buyer. You've burned $7,500 in one day just from driving your new car off the lot. But that's just day one of your losses. So the average new car owner keeps their car for 6 years. After 6 years, the average new car has lost almost 68% of its value, nearly $26,000. Just to make that clear, the average new car costs $38,000 right now, but 6 years from now, it will only be worth about $12,000. That's depreciation. That doesn't include any interest you would pay from financing the car. And according to Experian, 85% of new cars are financed. Let's look how those numbers break down because they're just as insane. Experian reports that the average new car loan is a bit over 32 grand. To clarify, that means the average new car buyer had a down payment of 6 grand and then they financed the remaining 32. The latest average interest rate right now is 5.8%, with the average term being over 70 months long. Plug in the numbers, and you'll see that the average new car buyer ended up paying 6 grand in interest alone. Add it up, and that means the average new car buyer loses $32,000 just from depreciation and auto loan interest alone.
Real mature, Dad.
Sure, we have fun, but there's nothing we enjoy more than pleasing our customers. Right now, lease a 2020 Equinox for $199 a month, $2,000 down.
Or lease a 2020 Chevrolet Trax for only $149 a month, $2,000 down.
Ah, but what if you lease the new car for a few years instead of buying it? Sorry, but leasing leaves you even worse off. Automakers know all about depreciation, and they factor that into the monthly lease payments that you pay, which averages around $450 a month. Still not cheap. So, after a few years when the lease is up and you return the car to the dealership, you've paid for the depreciation hit for them. Plus, now you don't have a car. Great deal for the dealer, crappy deal for you. And don't forget the slew of fees you might incur at the end of your lease. If you went over your designated mileage, or if you dinged the bodywork, or if the kids stained the seats, or if you wore your tires down too far, prepare to fork over hundreds or thousands extra. So if a lease is starting to sound like an expensive long-term rental car, yeah, that's a good way to think of it. At this point you might be thinking, what's like $500 gonna do for me anyways? I bring a decent income, I won't even miss it. Turns out, $500 a month is the difference between retiring comfortably with $1 million or working right up until you die penniless. According to many financial experts, you need about $1 million sitting in your bank account if you want to retire comfortably by age 65. Now, I had a heart attack when I heard that because $1 million seems like such an insane number for an average person to save up. This is a Fake money, by the way. I'm not really, flashing hundreds around. But hold up, we're talking about the average new car buyer, and they spend about $500 every single month on a depreciating asset, where interest is compounding and sending them deeper and deeper into debt. What if they put that $500 towards an appreciating asset, such as a good mutual fund, where interest would work for them instead of against them? And every month, instead of a car payment, you invested $500 into that mutual fund, which on average should pay out interest of about 10%. After 10 years, you'd have $100,000. 40% of that being interest you earned that you didn't have to lift a finger for. Keep it up for 20 years, and you'll have nearly $360,000 in the bank, with that 10% interest paying you back even more. Go for 30 years, and look at that, you've made $1 million. And the vast majority was the interest that was working for you all along. Don't know about you, but I would choose retiring with $1 million in the bank over that new car smell any day. Okay, but you need a car to drive around, so what are you supposed to do? I recommend buying a good, well cared for, used car. This is what I've done for most of my life, and it's definitely helped me live debt-free while still owning reliable cars that I've loved driving. The way I see it, depreciation is the biggest cost of a new car, so let some other sucker pay for it. As you can see, a new car loses a ton of value in the first few years, but then the curve starts to flatten out, where the value of the car only goes down a little bit year over year. That means you can save a ton of money even if the used car you purchase is only a few years old. And because you spent less buying the used car in the first place, you won't have to borrow as much to pay it off, which means you should be spending less on interest too. As a bonus, because the car is so much cheaper to begin with, you'll be spending less on taxes, registration, and insurance. Now, there are a few important downsides to used cars that you should be aware of, but I think they're trivial compared to the amount of money you can save. The biggest demerit of used cars is repairs. Chances are you'll have to pay more to keep an old car going versus a new one, at least in the short term. But you can stack the deck in your favor by buying a reliable used car, one that was well cared for from a brand known for reliability. You can also learn to save thousands by fixing your cars yourself. Check out my top 5 car repair tips for beginners video if you'd like to learn more about that. But even if you have to pay for repairs and go into a shop, you'd have to find a real lemon to cost you $500 a month, like you would on new car payments. And a new car might turn out to be a lemon anyways, because their real-world longevity isn't known yet. The 2 million people who bought Ford's new small cars a few years ago found this out the hard way when their transmissions on their brand new cars started blowing up on them. But if you want to be really careful and still save money, take a look at certified used cars. Certified used cars have been thoroughly gone over by mechanics before being put up for sale. Almost all car manufacturers have some sort of certified used car program, or you can go to a place like CarMax and choose whatever brand you want. You'll have to pay a few thousand extra for a certified used car, but it still makes a lot more financial sense than buying new. Most certified used car programs offer decent warranties too. I personally skip warranties altogether and buy directly from private owners as often as I can. This saves me the most amount of money, but it's definitely more of a risk. You gotta know what you're doing. I'll go over how to carefully select a good used car in future episodes on this channel. It's almost like an art form that's taken me years of practice, so subscribe if you'd like to learn more. Another plus for new cars, they have more features, especially better navigation and audio systems. But guess what? Those systems are outdated in just a few years anyway. Just use your phone with a used car, or spend $500 to get a new head unit with Bluetooth installed. Problem solved. Now, here's 4 exceptions where it might make more sense to buy a new car versus used. Exception number 1, you're accident prone. Another new car advantage I have to mention, they are safer, especially when it comes to active safety advancements that help you avoid accidents in the first place. I'm talking things like automatic braking, blind spot monitoring, or any number of cameras that new cars have to give you a better sense of your surroundings. Whatever the issue, if you're the type who gets into scrapes often, the active safety features that new cars have might be worth the extra cost you'll have to pay, especially in insurance. Exception number 2, electric vehicles. Each new generation sees huge improvements in battery design, especially when it comes to range. Plus, to help offset the cost of a new EV or plug-in hybrid, you could qualify for a government rebate or a tax credit. The amounts vary wildly from state to state and year to year, but it can save you several thousand, and it's something you can't get on a used EV. Exception number 3, you really want to support the car companies. Look, I have nothing against car manufacturers or their dealerships. I just think new cars are financial suicide for the average American. Keep in mind, 70% of Americans don't have $1,000 in their name. They can't afford to lose 32 grand on each new car purchase. But if supporting a favorite company or dealership means that much to you, that's a personal decision that only you can make. Exception number 4, you're filthy rich. If you're set for life and have millions in the bank, 30 grand is a drop in the bucket for you. So go ahead, Richie Rich, buy whatever you want. You've earned it. But for the rest of us, I hope I've given you a little perspective with this video. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe and bell notification icon so you don't miss future videos, where I'll go more in depth on finding, keeping, and enjoying used cars. So until next time, thanks for watching and stay practical. Burning this $100 bill might look, oh no.
Oh.
It demonstrates what the average new car buyer does.
That was a good burn.
I know, the burn was so good it distracted me from what I was actually doing.